Hi everyone, welcome back to Next Diecast. In today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale McLaren 600 LT Coupe made by Solido. I bought this model from diecastmodelswholesale.com for just under $60 in total, and you can find this model elsewhere on sites such as Amazon and eBay and other diecast sites such as 3000toys.com and whatnot for usually between $45 and $70. I would classify Solido models as a budget grade like model car company. They do make some other models in their line, such as the Dodge Challenger from 2020, a couple of Mercedes-Benz models from recent years, and a couple classic cars too. They also make the McLaren F1 race car as well. But overall, I think in terms of quality, this is a pretty good model for the most part. This model came out last year, and it was kind of a big deal when it came out because prior to this, the only 1/18 scale models you could get of modern McLaren supercars were made by upper-end model manufacturers like Auto Art and whatnot, which were usually well over $200 to buy. This is actually one of the first modern McLaren diecast models in 1/18 scale that you can get for under $100. Like I said, I got this for just under $60. It would have been a little bit more, but I actually had a coupon for diecast model wholesale, so I was able to get a slight discount with that. But overall, I think Solido does a great job with the details and everything on this model, though there are a few flaws here and there, which I'll get into as we take a look at the entire car. You currently find this model in the really awesome dark purple that you see here with the silver wheels and the gray accents. It also comes in a bright orange with black accents and black rims. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the details of the model. Now, the real 600 LT came out in 2019. And I think it's slotted above the 570S. I think Doug DeMuro said it's kind of like the Porsche 911 GT3 RS of the McLaren brand. So that's just something to make note of when you're kind of comparing the different models that McLaren makes. So Solido, I think, does a great job with the overall shape and look of the car. There are lots of, curved lines on these supercars from McLaren. I think Solido pretty much captures all of them quite well. And if we do take a look at the front here, I think they did an excellent job with these headlights here. They are the proper shape and size and proportion. There is kind of a slight gap like above here, but you can't really see it too well because this is kind of a darker paint color. And there is kind of a black border going around this light too. And you have a nicely replicated kind of LED pattern in the back here, done in kind of a bright silver. And then on this side too, the light also looks very well done. And you actually see there are separately cast indicator lights here too, which is kind of cool. Usually these model manufacturers will kind of paint them on, but on here they're actually done as separately cast plastic pieces. So I think they did a good job with those too. You do have a McLaren badge in the front and center here. It's actually not a sticker, it is embossed on there, and it looks very well done. The overall paint quality on this model, I would say, is excellent. The metallic purple looks amazing, and yes, this is actually purple. I know in certain lighting it looks like it's blue, but it is indeed kind of a purple. Not really an eggplant purple, more like a violet, I guess I should say, but it looks awesome paired up with this, paired up with these wheels and this kind of gray on the car. Speaking of the gray might be a little bit too light now that I'm looking at it. I think on the real 600 LT, if you opted for the gray accents, if you were to buy the real car, it should be a slight bit darker. But that being said, it does look, pretty good with this purple. The orange version will have the black accents and bumpers as opposed to the lightish gray. But I think they look decent for the most part on here. These side mirrors will come separate in a baggie. I'm not sure why Solido does that, but I mean, I guess it means that they won't be broken if, during shipment. So I think that's kind of cool that they do that. Although it is kind of a hassle to put these on. You do have to kind of put a little bit of glue so they stay in place. But once they're on there, they look, good. They're actually plastic pieces, but they do have a nice convincing paint job on them to make it look like they're actually made of metal like the rest of the car. And you got nice wipers on here too. Taking a look at the side here, Solido does a good job with these wheels. They have a nice pattern, fit, and finish to them. And you have the nice McLaren badge going on in the middle there too, along with the lug nuts. The brake discs do move with the calipers in the front, but not in the back, which is kind of weird. But aside from that, the detailing is very well done with the brakes, with the brake discs and calipers. They have all the little holes in them and everything. And you actually do get branded tires, which is awesome. Most model manufacturers have ditched, putting branded tires on their 1/18 scale models, but Solido has kind of brought that back, it looks like. These are Pirellis, I believe, and they look very well done. You actually do get full steering on the model too, although no suspension, which is kind of odd, but I don't think that's a big deal. The steering is a little bit tight, but it does look kind of good when you put the model up on the shelf like that with the wheels kind of turned a little bit. And further down the side, you'll see all these various intakes and everything here that are done in kind of a lighter gray. I think they pair up nicely with the kind of dark purple paint. And down here, you will see a 600 LT badge on kind of this carbon fiber textured piece of plastic, which does continue along the whole rest of the door. And then even back here, you have kind of a carbon fiber textured piece too. I think Solido does a good job with these kind of elements on the side here. Might be a bit too glossy with the paint here and there, and there is some purple transfer a little bit on there. But you can easily just correct that with some gray paint if you have some. So I don't think that's a big deal. And the doors actually do have full side windows, so it does look like a resin model from a far distance. Of course, you do have the opening doors, which I'll get to later. Same deal back here, and then nice looking back wheels. Back here, you get a 600 LT license plate, and you do have the McLaren badge up here in the center, which is done in a nice silver. You have nice looking taillights and other indicator lights back here. They're all separately cast on plastic pieces. These taillights are actually painted on, but you can't really tell. And they are very thin, so they'd be kind of hard to replicate as kind of separately cast plastic pieces. And you have kind of a nice mesh-like honeycomb pattern in the centers here. I think that looks super cool. And you have separately cast pieces for these red lights here and these lower, I guess, reverse lights down here too. And this is all metal back here too. Cool looking spoiler. You have kind of a lighter gray carbon fiber texture on the left and right, and then kind of a matte black texture in the center here. Well, there is some kind of plastic excess, it looks like, up here. Almost like it was scratched maybe, but I guess that's just a factory defect. I don't think that's a big deal. The engine cover area, I think, looks well done too. You have the exhaust pipes up here, kind of a cool place for them. And you have a nice kind of texture going on in the center here too, like a mesh almost. A little bit of a glossy pattern here and there, maybe a little bit too glossy at that, but I don't think that's a big deal. You don't get an opening on the engine cover, unfortunately. I think on the real car, it fully comes off. It's not hinged or anything, but if you get the auto art version, of course, you'll have that. But I guess to save some cost, Solido didn't include a full engine back here, which I don't think is a big deal. You have kind of a nice sort of seamless look back here. And speaking of lack of opening, the hood doesn't open either. That's where the luggage compartment would actually be. But again, not a huge deal because you do have kind of a nice seamless look up here with, you know, the sealed hood. I probably would have paid a few more dollars for this if it did have the opening hood, but I think a lack of an opening hood is not a big deal because some Welly models actually have just the opening doors and not a hood or, you know, a rear engine cover or trunk. And this model, I think, aligns with detailing and quality of Welly models. It definitely slots above Maisto and probably around the same slot as Welly. I wouldn't slot it up to like Norev or Auto Art for sure, but I think it definitely is higher quality for a budget grade car. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the exterior of the car. Again, no suspension or anything, but you do have steering, which is nice to see. And the paint just looks awesome. It's so strange how in certain lighting and in certain photos online, it looks like it's blue, but it is indeed purple. And I've tried taking photos of this without, you know, capturing the more bluish look, but it's impossible. So just to clarify, it is not blue, it is purple. And the orange version, of course, will obviously be orange. It's not gonna, you know, look different in certain lighting. I don't think that one is a metallic shade or has a metallic, you know, flake to the paint though, like this one does. So that's why I kind of opted for this one, because you have the silver wheels and kind of the sparkle look to the paint. And purple, I think, is a unique color in general and looks good on these McLaren cars. So in terms of opening features, all you get are the opening doors, which open up like so. These are, of course, like the butterfly doors. So you just kind of lift them up like this and sort of gently lift them into place. These do open up on kind of very thin dog-leg hinges, which I don't think is that great. And as you'll see for this driver's side door here, it does not stay up. And I've seen other people online mention this about their 600 LT models from Solido. I think this is because the hinges are just kind of thin dog legs. They're not like on hydraulics or anything. I wish Solido would have maybe done better hinges on this, especially for the price that you're kind of paying for it. But I have a solution for this. I pretty much just took a piece of a paper clip like this, and then if you take it and put it on the, it does take two hands, so I'll show you in a sec once I get it up. See, I just kind of put that paper clip between the door sill and on the underside of the door, and it does hold up this driver's side door. It looks a bit weird. I have found ways to kind of hide this a little bit better, but just for the video's sake, so I can see inside the interior for you, I'm just going to prop it up like that. But kind of annoying, but if you have the car up on the shelf, you know, you can't even see that paper clip from this angle, or when I put the car like this, you can't really see it either. So kind of annoying that, you know, you have these cool doors, but you can't really use them all that much, or else the hinges aren't going to work right. But pretty much all budget models with rising doors like this have that problem, and it's a shame. I would have gladly paid, a few more dollars for this if it had, better quality hinges and everything. But you can't really ask for too much, I guess. And that's probably just a factory defect for mine and the few others that were reviewed online and everything. But, I mean, this does look so cool with the doors up like that, like up on the shelf. I'll probably get a second paper clip for this side to hold that one up. But yeah, kind of a shame that this can't stay up with its own weight. But you can find kind of DIY solutions to keep it up. So, as I found here. Let's take a look at the interior I'm detailing next. The seats are pretty well done overall. It's kind of hard to get an angle of them from the front because you have the windows here and the windshield here, but there's kind of a view of them from through the windshield. You do have the McLaren badges on the headrests, and they are the proper size and shape, maybe a bit too thin, and they have kind of a nice glossy texture and pattern to them too. You don't get seatbelts though, unfortunately. It would have been cool if they had those too. Down here you do have the 600 LT badging on this kind of door sill, which is very wide. I think they did a good job with that too. And on the door panels, you do have some detailing. They're just all black. You have kind of a carbon texture going on where the door handle actually is. I'm sure there should be some silver on this. I think on the real car there is some silver detailing. Solido doesn't include that, unfortunately, but at least they have the two different textures going on. The dashboard and center stack, I would say, are quite well done. All the buttons are painted on and they're very readable. You see down here you have kind of a cluster of buttons and like the shifter and everything. And you got more buttons up here where that screen is. So it even says, it even has the McLaren inscription going on there too. Nice looking vents as well. They have kind of a silver border around them, almost like a three-dimensional shape to them too. And that's a really cast piece up there as well. Nice texture on the dashboard and seats, although it is kind of the same texture. I would imagine you'd have kind of a more rough texture on the dashboard and kind of a smooth texture on the seats if this were the real car. But I think Solido, what they do in here is pretty good for the most part. Nice detailed steering wheel too. You have the McLaren badge in the middle, bordered by a silver circle, and you have kind of a nice molding with the spokes of the steering wheel and stuff there too. And you do have a gauge cluster as well. It is actually turned on. It looks like it reads some kilometer like measurements on there. So I like how they put that in there too. And you do actually have a vent on this side too of the steering wheel, which is well done. Oddly enough, there are no pedals. I'm not really sure why that is. Kind of annoying. I wish they put those in there. It kind of detracts from the detail a slight bit, but it is kind of hard to see in this interior because it is all black and you have the doors that open up at this angle. So I don't think that's a huge deal that they didn't include that, but it would have been nice nonetheless. But yeah, there's a better view, I guess, of the whole dashboard and everything. I'd say a decent job for a model priced at around, $45 to $55 for sure. Go ahead and close those up. So yeah, the interior, I would say, is pretty well detailed for the most part, aside from the lack of pedals and, some of the odd textures in here. The fine detailing is definitely there with the buttons and the steering wheel and everything. Maybe a little bit more, I think, would have been welcome for this price range. We'll go ahead and close the doors up here. Overall, if you can find this model for, I would say, anywhere under $65 or $70, I would say it's well worth it for your collection, especially if you collect modern supercars and everything. This is currently the only budget McLaren model in 1/18 scale you can get, unless you count the Maisto F1 for the 1990s. And they're even kind of going up in price now because they haven't been made for like such a long time. And Solido also makes an F1, but it's like the racing version. But I think this is a good model to add to your collection if you collect, supercars or McLarens in general. I think this would look good next to upper-end models of McLarens in 1/18 scale for sure. There are some, minor defects like the door and everything and some lack of detailing on the interior. But I think for a budget price model, this is pretty good as a whole. So again, if you can find it for a good price, I would say definitely get it. And it would look good in any collection of supercars if you have a 1/18 scale collection of supercars. As always, feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on the model, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.